Okay, all right. Well, welcome everybody to the 2019 SAS Users Group Summit. This is something that we usually do at SAS Global Forum, but this year, partly because of scheduling conflicts and partly because, this is 2019, we decided to do a virtual summit to give everybody an opportunity to get together. My name is Tasha Chapman. I am the Vice President of the Western Users of SAS Software and also currently the Chair of the User Group Steering Committee, and will be for about a month left. So I just wanted to, again, welcome you, and really glad that you guys are all here. Two quick things. One, as I mentioned earlier, this is being recorded so that folks who are not able to attend will be able to view it later, or even if you just really wanted to hear all the awesome things that we said today one more time and relive it all, you can definitely do that. So we'll be sending out the link to the recording soon after today's summit. The second thing is there will be a lot of people on the call, so please be sure to mute your phone when you are not currently speaking, just so we kind of reduce background noise and things of that nature. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get this party started. So the very first presentation that we have today, and we have quite a bit on the agenda, we're going to be talking about social media, hot topics for 2019, talking a little bit about conference registration systems, bring your own device hows, the 2019 SAS support guide, and then if we have time, we'll also have kind of an open discussion for things that you guys want to chat about amongst each other. But I want to go ahead and get started with our first presentation. If I can get my computer to wake up. There we go. Social media. So we've asked Ali Sewell from SAS to come in and give us some chat, give us a conversation about social media and ways that we can really leverage it to our best with our users groups. So I am going to do my first official pass the presenter role over to Ali, and then she can show you what she's got. Take it away, Ali.
Hi there. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep, looks great.
Perfect. So thank you so much for having me today. I will keep things pretty high level, short and sweet, and go over a couple of hopefully helpful tips around how you all as users group leaders can take advantage of social media in ways that perhaps you're already doing, or maybe taking it sort of a step in a different direction or in a new direction that you haven't thought of yet. So if any of you were at SAS Global Forum, I believe it was 2 years ago, my boss, Kirsten Hamstra, my former boss, I should say, recently took the role.
Hi, this is Ryan.
She gave a similar presentation at Global Forum 2 years ago, and so you might recognize a couple of the tidbits from that. So let me start off really quickly by giving you sort of an overview of what social media looks like here at SAS and just a very, very brief timeline. So social media has now become sort of in the DNA of our company. Everything from the beginning, kind of when a lot of this sort of formally got off the ground when Facebook launched back in 2004, to when our communities, .sas.com, sort of our homegrown community site was stood up at the time, setting up a very successful blogging platform through blog.sas.com. So it's really been an integral part of how we sort of communicate and how we try to get the word out about our organization.
Quick second, Ali.
Sure.
Oh, sorry. Remind everybody that if you're speaking, to please put your phone on mute so we can reduce background noise. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Take it away.
No problem. So there have been a number of things that have sort of happened along the way as we as a company have gotten more and more media. We've, slowly but surely created sort of corporate accounts on different major social networks, such as, for example, Twitter back in 2010. And that's allowed us to really sort of take advantage of the power of sort of this one-to-many platform, or number of platforms, I should say, rather. So we've been able to do things like promote, major media, posts like, being on the Today Show or being featured in the Huffington Post. It's also given way to a very intimate relationship with a lot of our users and sort of counterparts, in that when they run into issues with the software, when they have a strong opinion about anything sort of SaaS related, they do not hesitate to reach out to us. And more often than not, that's done through social. So we've created sort of a social care account that you'll see there on screen at SAS_cares. And that's really our vehicle for basically round-the-clock customer care. So we have folks from Asia Pacific to Ireland to here in the U.S., basically monitoring anything that's being said about SAS and making sure that we jump in to help out when a student runs into a roadblock or one of our users is just celebrating learning something new. So again, that's been sort of this wonderful feedback loop for us. A couple of years ago, we were able to actually put more bodies behind social at SAS, and so we were able to form a corporate social media team. And then we've been able to sort of mobilize, because we've had more of a staff, to do things like get our employees a little bit more engaged on social. We created what we call the 140. The 140 is essentially a long-term social media training program where we have tried to kind of get any of our social savvy employees feeling a little bit more confident using social media for their work. So our folks, in R&D who can jump into conversations on Quora, or, our folks, within marketing who might want to use, social to do a little bit of research or sort of take the pulse on certain topics. We've really been trying to kind of enable everybody. And from there, it's been pretty successful. And it's a little bit of a task managing 125 accounts globally. So we do our best. So I know social does not look like this for you guys, but needless to say, there's a lot of spinning plates, and there are so many wonderful benefits that I think you guys can take advantage of as just for your individual groups and beyond. So with that, I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of Social 101. And again, if you guys are already past a lot of this, by all means, tune out. But hopefully it's a good refresher regardless. So if you're just getting into social media or you're sort of dusting off old skills, there's sort of a mantra that we recommend to any and everybody, and it's this concept of listening first. And when we discuss listening, we're listening with our eyes, not our ears, for topics, for influencers, for people who are talking about the topics that you all care about within your rugs, right? So I know you all have a very good sense of who your audiences are and sort of what they care about. So listening to them by just reading and seeing what they're posting and sort of seeing how they're interacting can be vastly, vastly valuable. Can't recommend that enough. We always talk about how important lurking is on social media and how informative that can be, right? And you can listen on any social network. Next after listening is engaging. So as people are getting sort of, and when I discuss this sort of process, you can apply this process individually as an individual social media user, or you can apply it from a larger sort of macro level. So if you're kind of the person in charge of social media for your user group, you can apply this sort of step-by-step process at a higher level. But anyway, from after listening, engaging is very, very important. Engaging, what we mean by that on social, are just actions that allow you to sort of let people know that you're paying attention, you support them, you're listening. So in a face-to-face conversation, when you walk up into a conversation and there's someone speaking, you might let them know that you're listening by nodding or by agreeing and saying yes, or by giving them eye contact, right? We're talking about the social media equivalent, which are things like liking posts, commenting on posts, even sharing posts from other people. That's what we mean by engagement. If any of you are on social media, you know that if you spend a little bit of time putting together a post and you put it out there and you hear crickets, there are few things more demoralizing than that. So the goal really with anything you do on social is to get a reaction out of people. So with that being said, if you're in your listening phase and you move on to your engagement phase and you go out and you engage with people and you let them know, oh, I agree with this, or oh, that's a great point, or I hadn't read that, or just something as simple as liking can really mean a lot. And it's always just kind of an easy way to dip your toe in the water when it comes to getting more acclimated to social. And then the last step really is to publish. So as you feel comfortable, publishing posts with regularity, with some degree of regularity, is just a good habit to get into. So again, if you are doing this on an individual level or sort of from a group management level, a larger macro level, publishing is a good thing to do. Now, I say that on an individual level, it might be that you sort of gravitate towards mostly listening, engaging, and less publishing. But if you're using social media sort of at this higher level, it's important to establish some sort of regular cadence when it comes to publishing. Because again, the people following your accounts are going to expect that to a certain degree. And as sort of when you're running an account from a user group perspective, you want to make sure that your constituents, the people that you're sort of there to support, can get information from you and know that you're there and responsive and active, right? So with that understanding in mind, think about kind of what social networks are right for what certain actions. Wanted to go through kind of the three main ones. So first and foremost is LinkedIn. Everybody knows LinkedIn. LinkedIn is sort of the cornerstone space for professional networking. I just got back from SAS Global Forum last week and was staffing a LinkedIn booth where we did profile consultations and processed almost 1,000 people through that booth. So we did everything from looking over people's profiles for new jobs to how they can just network with other SAS practitioners and SAS peers to how to use better. So LinkedIn is really the number one place I would say that it's sort of the common denominator among all business social media users. So it's a great place for you all to take advantage of if you are not already. Most of what we use LinkedIn for from a corporate perspective are these concepts around thought leadership and subject matter expertise. LinkedIn acquired essentially a blogging platform, so you have the ability to not only publish just individual posts about your areas of interest, so a cool blog post you have just read, a magazine article you just read, hey, here's my insight. You can do something as simple as that, to actually within LinkedIn authoring your own blog post that is associated with your LinkedIn account, what LinkedIn calls articles. So it really becomes a great resource about leadership, subject matter expertise, etc. LinkedIn is also a great place. I know many of you have annual events, more regular events. LinkedIn is a great place to sort of drive registration for those events, and just to sort of generally let people know who you are and that you exist and that you're there sort of to support them. The great thing about you all as regional user groups is that a lot of people on their LinkedIn profiles identify themselves as participants of various rugs. So when I was at Global Forum last week, for example, that was one thing I was encouraging people to add to their profiles if they hadn't already. They'll actually write in that they're, participating in PharmaSug or CSUG or what have you. So remember that if you do a search on LinkedIn, a lot of those individuals will come up. So from an individual perspective, those might be new people for you to connect with on LinkedIn potentially. So thinking of ways, again, that you can sort of creatively engage with them. But LinkedIn is really Twitter. Twitter is sort of the second most popular platform that we see people using for both professional and personal use. And a lot of people either love Twitter or they hate Twitter. But I will tell you, Twitter is really the number one space for events and for breaking news. So more often than not, for example, if you have an event, a regional event, you're going to see a lot of activity, a lot of people live tweeting the event using your event hashtag, and that activity is going to be streamlined here on Twitter. So Twitter can be used in a variety of ways, not only through that sort of live breaking news type of coverage, but you can also use it for a lot of the same reasons as you can use LinkedIn. If you want to just inform people about, thought leadership or general awareness around your group, Twitter is a great place to do that. The Twitter algorithm is such that the more people engage with your account, the more frequently you'll show up in their feed. So leaning in that direction. But the reason I say that is because a lot of people associate Twitter with this sort of fire hose of information when they're sort of reconfiguring it a little bit so that you don't miss the things that, in theory, you do care about. So something to consider. And then lastly, Facebook. Facebook is probably going to be a place that you use very sparingly. For us, we don't really post too much to Facebook, mainly because we all know the audience for Facebook. It is, everything from family to high school friends to acquaintances, mostly of the sort of personal persuasion and not so much in a business capacity oftentimes. That being said, however, if you find that your audience is there, if you find that your members are there, it can be a really great place to sort of take advantage of that sort of viewership. So, for example, older individuals are becoming more and more frequent users of Facebook. If your demographic skews that way, then maybe Facebook is a better option than say, Twitter, which sort of runs the gamut of everyone from young to older. So it's up to you in sort of assessing who your audience is and making sure you're sort of communicating with them in the right channels where they actually have a presence and where they're regularly logging in. So we sort of view our partners in a similar way that we thought you all would sort of view your audiences. So we have a number of different relationships with large and small partners, and the similarity there is that obviously we have sort of shared interests and shared goals. So wanted to just show you a quick example of how you can sort of lean on and help promote some of your constituents, some people who you might view as partners or other sister organizations in a similar way. So we've done everything from authoring blog posts on blogs.sas.com, sort of helping to co-promote some of our favorite partners, to general tweets that might promote an event they have going on or some sort of asset that they're trying to sort of co-promote. There's a lot of reciprocity online, and as you can sort of figure out who your audiences are, who your partners are, if that's, like a sister organization, another user group, or even down to the individual level. Maybe you have a really active follower. You can really take social and sort of show them some love online in these sorts of ways, everything from a retweet to just engaging with them with those simple actions. So that is all I had, and I know we have a packed schedule, so unless we have any questions, I will hand things back.
Thank you so much, Allie. Do we have any questions for her? And if you do have a question, make sure you actually unmute.
I have a question.
Sure.
Maybe I don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of feedback. Yeah, I'm wondering first of all, this is our first time, like I said, doing the big virtual summit. So we're working through some fun technical challenges like we always do. Just a reminder again, if you're not speaking, to make sure that your phone is on mute so that we reduce any background noise, which may also help with some of the feedback. Some of the other stuff we may not be able to get past. But, okay, go ahead and continue with your question, though.
So, hello, Allie. Thank you for all of this information. One I had is that since our activities are focused on the idea of a conference, happening in one particular part of the year, how do you see the flow of social media content going throughout the year?
That's a great question. So I would imagine, and if the bulk of your content is sort of event driven, then it's probably going to wax and wane a little bit, so to speak, and you're going to have probably more of a surge leading up to the conference, months out. Perhaps if you have deadlines for paper presentations or things of that nature, it'll probably sort of build and then sort of peak, so to speak, at the event itself, and then it'll probably wane afterwards. One piece of advice that actually I was recently given that rings true is remember that many of your followers may or may not be able to attend your event, and that's okay, because you can still post relevant content that's interesting to them. So I'll give you a perfect example. So if you are, wanting to basically keep your audience engaged in sort of outside of the event season, so to speak, say it's after the event, perhaps you could think about ways to sort of repackage event content. So thinking about if you have paper presentations, for example, and if those papers are available, then maybe some of your posts afterwards that you could schedule out once a week are spotlighting one of the paper presenters, because the topic itself, whatever the paper was about, is still relevant no matter if the event has come and passed, come and gone. So as you can sort of think about evergreen content, after the event, that may sort of help keep that regular cadence. But it'll definitely wax and wane, and that's okay.
Thank you. I have one more, and then I'll stop. What is the recommended way of driving people towards your social media channels?
Recommended way.
You know what I mean? Like if you want to get people to follow you on Twitter or join a LinkedIn group.
Yep, great question. And that's really the $1 million question. There's no silver bullet to get more followers and to get people to join your group and things like that. I will tell you there are ways to sort of get surges of followers, and that is usually during events. So, for example, so if you're, say you have a Twitter account for your user group, and perhaps the person who runs that Twitter account attends another SAS conference or another conference that might be interesting to prospective members of your user group. Maybe you live tweet from that conference as under your user group's handle, just posting interesting and using the other conference hashtag, because usually whenever you are live tweeting an event, you are almost certain to kind of get a surge of new followers. So that's one way. Another way might be actually to, from an individual level, reach out to people. So say you want people to join your LinkedIn group. It might be worth doing a quick search for, SAS users in your geographic area, for example, or maybe in your industry area, depending on, what your user group is about. It might be worth reaching out to them, with a message and just saying, hey, if you have any interest, we have this group available. You have SAS in your LinkedIn profile, or you have SAS in your Twitter bio. This might be interesting to you. So I wish I could tell you there was some easier way, but there's a couple different methods that typically work better than others, and that's sort of one-to-one or anything you can do around an event.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Tasha, is there a way that questions could be sent to you? Because it seems like when you talk, we don't have all the back feed or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There is a chat window if you guys want to use that. You're welcome to try that as well, and I'll try to keep an eye on it.
It might work.
One of those things that's happening, just so people are aware, is when people drop on and off, which is totally fine. Obviously, you guys are all allowed to do that. Unfortunately, before the meeting started, I forgot to turn off the little sound that happens. So that's why you get that beep and then the nice little echo beeps that happens right after that. So lesson learned for next time. I'll make sure to turn that off. So, all right. So any other questions for Allie? Okay. All right then. Well, thank you so much, Allie. We appreciate that. That was a great chat. So,
You're welcome.
Here we go. All right. So next, we'd like to talk about hot topics for 2019. So Jen, I'm going to go ahead and pass the presenter role to you now so we can talk about that. Let's get that going. There you are.
And can everybody see my screen?
Not yet. Hold on. It says it's waiting for you.
Well, let me see if I have to. It says it's waiting for me. Oh, yes. Go to app. Why is it? Oh, sure. Okay. Try launching again. Oh, see, with on a Mac, it doesn't actually do this. So.
All right, but we can see you now.
All right, you can see me now, and now can you see this?
Yes.
See that?
PowerPoint.
Okay. All right, I'm not going to put it in presentation. It's just wackadoodle when I do that. So,
Okay.
One of the things that I've wanted to do throughout the year is to ensure that, one of the things that gets people to our conferences is the content. And everybody, and we all need to attract good content so that we can deliver good content to our attendees. That's why they come. Some people think they might come for your food or whatever, but that's not the case. They come they come for your content. And so one of the things that the SAS Global Users Group, which is the users group that puts on SAS Global Forum. Everybody gets that name wrong. But the SAS Global Users Group and the SAS Global Forum Conference Committee is doing is we're working closely with SAS to kind of identify some up-and-coming topic areas, some individual groups of individuals who might benefit from increasing content, for example, data scientists and administrators, staff admin type people, etc. And so that's always forefront in my mind as to who we should be looking at and in terms of strengthening content, etc. And so one of the things I wanted to do was just kind of get a pulse on what was happening at the regionals. Do you all see similar content topic areas or roles of individuals where you're seeing, a need or you're seeing those hot topics? And so I did poll everybody, and CSUG indicated that, a lot of their hot topics this past year for their 2018 conference was SQL. They did a lot with reporting and visualization, ODS tables, outputting, etc., and then just general programming. They do have plans for 2019 to look at some industry-specific presentations. I don't remember if there were specific industries they have identified, but those are, just general that they're looking for industry-specific presentations. Open source integration with R and Python and Lua and whatever the heck is out there. We're looking at that, and then looking at a management track. So not just necessarily those who are the programmers or the statisticians, but what would benefit those who are in management from a presentation perspective. From South Central, the identified hot topics were dynamic macros, again, ODS reporting, proc report, so those visualizations and how do we present our data. SAS VIA were some hot topic areas. Hows, anything to do with hows, it doesn't matter what the how was, those were hot. And I kind of saw that at Global Forum as well. And then there were some AI and machine learning areas that were hot topics as well. For WUS, we didn't get any identified hot topics from 2018, but they do have plans to look at some of the open source integration, and that's been kind of a theme throughout. So PharmaSug as well, some of that open source integration were some hot topics that were identified at last year's WIDE conference. And I know this year's conference is soon on the horizon, and they will likely be addressing those as well. From SAS Global Forum, just, what was that, a week and a half ago? Some of the things that I saw, and just in terms of chatter around the rooms that were kind of full, and I believe Amy Peters is going to be presenting more on this, but these were just kind of my personal observations, were that SAS VIA was huge, open source integration was huge, just your basic programming types of things, SQL, ODS, reporting. I did a full room on do loops and arrays, so in terms of a how. So some of those basic things are needed. I don't know about you all, but over 50% of the attendees at SAS Global Forum are first-time attendees, and a lot are new novice SAS users. So that basic type of stuff is still needed. Machine learning and AI was big. And so just to give you some perspective on where we are going in terms of 2020, and Lisa Mendez has presented this to her team and her content delivery and content advisory team. She has presented this. So I don't think it's secret. But we want to continue to grow basic data scientist content, and maybe specifically on those data scientists where SAS was not their original tool. Those who use R, those who use Python, those who use Lua, those who use other types of things. How can we integrate the content more, that open source integration, and the collaborative nature of SAS VIA and what that offers in terms of growing that content area. Another area to look at is expanding the focus for IT and administration. Those are actually two very separate types of individuals. We want to keep expanding the SAS administration content, and I think we did a pretty good job this past year of doing that. Marianne was focused on that. Marianne DePesquo was focused on that. But there are different needs and expectations of the non-administration IT. What are those platforms that we need to build so that we can administer SAS? And so there's lots of different things that I think that we can look into, and those might be things that you might be seeing in your regionals as we move forward, and SAS moves forward into SAS VIA versus maybe PC based SAS. And other things that we're looking at, we instituted GitHub as a way of dissemination and interaction this past year, and we're going to continue to do that. And then we've added different SAS advisors to aid in some of these above areas. And those are things that I think would be beneficial to you all as well, as having those areas and maybe some SAS representatives to give you through the RUG steering committee to give you some of that. What are the up-and-coming things that SAS is looking at? And so some of the things that I saw, the commonalities that I saw, was that open source integration, the SAS SIA, but still understanding the need for some of those basic things that maybe some of us who've been using SAS all take for granted. Some of the SQL stuff, the ODS and the reporting and visualization, some of that basic SAS programming, but that we need to keep hitting over and over year after year, because there are new SAS users who are coming to our conferences. So mine was pretty short and sweet, but so I'd like to open it up to any discussion or any questions, and we can move forward from there. I'm hearing crickets.
So Jen, I have a question, and this is probably a question for the group as a whole. One of the things that we do at WIS every year is we have our SAS Essentials section, which is basically the main portion of that is there's 3 hour-long presentations back to back to back. We usually do it on Wednesday afternoon, which is the first day of our conference. And it's intended for people who are brand new to SAS, right? It's kind of a very quick and simple introductory set of presentations. I'll actually be running it this year, and the presentations that I have are from a couple of years ago or so, and they are base programming set in like the base SAS environment. And I'm kind of wondering now, with SAS moving towards things like SAS EG, SAS Studio, SAS Via, all of these other different tools, and kind of away from the very basic base SAS, are there things that I should be doing to kind of make that more relevant for 2019, while still maintaining probably the basic programming portion of it? But in terms of the environment and things that people are talking about in terms of the environment, are things that I should do to update it for 2019?
And I can tell you from like a hands-on workshop perspective, I had to volunteer like all day in a hands-on workshop because they needed help. So I really spent a lot of time in that. But the environment spaces are that attention is needed from an introductory perspective. Margie Fecht, she wasn't able to be at SAS Global Forum, but her EG and its programming for EG people, essentially, her EG presentation was another jam-packed room. And she also did an encore. And so from that perspective, I think those different platforms and those different environments, people are using them. And sometimes that's the only environment that they're being given access to. So how do you program in an environment where it starts out as drag and drop? And where do I look at that, and how can I get my, how can I merge data together in the way that I need to merge it in that kind of environment? And so from my perspective, I think those different environments from an introductory perspective are needed. And anybody else can agree?
I was going to say another thing. This is Amy Peters. Another thing that might be interesting to note is that Education just redid all of the base programming courses in exactly the way we're just talking. So we don't really offer Display Manager anymore. It's all either EG or Studio. And so if you wanted to have people come through and then maybe go on to some of the free e-learning, that would be more seamless if they were already taught. And again, the University Edition only comes with Studio. So that's been the direction of training just from a SAS education perspective. And that's kind of something we're doing on purpose. And so many people are being moved, off of PC SAS onto either servers or whatever. So I think that's a great idea. And maybe you can steal some content from them.
Yeah, I was actually just wondering if you had any recommendations for resources, just so I could get kind of familiar with the new way we're seeing things.
Yeah, I mean, so the programming one stuff is all there, but I'm happy to connect you. Stacy Seifert is the curriculum manager here, and I'm sure she would be delighted to talk about it. Because along the same lines, once they redid the programming courses, they've redone the certification exam too to be more experiential, right? So the whole thing is kind of a big kind of turn for us. So yeah, if you want to email me, I'm happy to connect you to her. I'm sure she'd be delighted to talk to you.
Yeah, that would be great, and we can make sure that we kind of send out the resources to folks on the call as well. So that'd be great.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys are aware that the Learn pages that they've put out on support that are trying to kind of pull a bunch of stuff together that's kind of all over the place. So there's a Learn SAS programming page that's got links to the tutorials and the doc and the e-learning, and there's a Learn EG page and Studio, all of that. So there's some good kind of central resources, and that might be, because you know how it is. People go to the workshops and they want to know, okay, what do I do next? And so being able to say, okay, here's a link that's got everything on it is way easier to give somebody.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions or comments or discussion? We've got some time. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for that.
Sure.
Knocking stuff over my office. I said thank you so
much.
much
Do I need
for
to
that
pass
presentation.
this back to you?
I can steal it from you.
Okay.
If I
Great.
get the
The
right
other way.
one. Yep. There we go. All right. Well, thank you again so much. All right. So next, what we wanted to talk about.
Can I ask, I didn't know if you wanted, I had a couple more. I didn't know, I don't have a presentation, but I was just going to add to a couple things if that's okay. Do we have a little bit more time?
Yeah, please, Amy, take the floor.
Okay, cool. Sorry. No, and I was thrilled because, Jen, everything you said rings exactly true to the things I have been hearing and was actually going to talk about. So I would reiterate, it's been a really interesting, I don't even know what the word would be, surprise journey, whatever, how much the other language integration stuff has been coming up. So when we switched over in Global Forum to the programming booths, which are kind of where the data stuff, and SQL and everything had always been covered, they've morphed over the last 3 years, and we're getting fewer and fewer, data stuff questions and more questions. How do I use Python? And it's not just a VIA thing. We're getting the SAS Pi stuff too. So a lot of it is just, I think people are still not expecting SAS to admit that, oh yeah, there's some great languages out there, feel free to use them. It's like people think we're supposed to not talk about that. And so it's been hard to overcome that bias, because frankly that's the way it has been for years. Obviously we just pretended like they didn't exist. So anyway, point of the story, having more resources available to folks who want to either, I already like Python and I just want to use Python against SAS, or I'm just interested in learning other languages. That's one of the driving forces behind, again, I'm going to mention the University Edition again, putting the Python stuff in the University Edition. So SAS Pi and Jupyter are all in there, so someone can use Python against SAS. So we are seeing tons more questions, tons more papers. It's actually kind of a cool thing. So that topic. I think the other thing that happens is people are changing how they're talking about VIA, because for the last several years it's more been a what is this thing, or I don't care, it's not going to affect me. And this year in particular, I got a lot more, okay, we're going to this and how to. So I guess besides the topics, Jen, that you mentioned, which again I agree with all of those, the only one that was missing is more of a migration assistance, and this could be something like what we were just talking about. I have a whole bunch of people on PC SAS. We're moving them to a server, or we're moving them to a grid. And even though a lot of times that also means they're changing over to EG or Studio, what I'm finding is that they're having a lot of trouble with server file systems. Where's my stuff? They're used to having everything on their desktop, and so having content around helping people move, into these server or more modern environments along the same lines, moving to a cloud environment keeps coming up over and over again, which has, again, got similar sets of issues. And then, of course, there's a subset of customers that are moving to VIA, and what do I do in terms of migrating to that? And those discussions seem to be much more around not only the open source language integration, but code parallelization. So, how do I set my current data steps up so that they run better in a parallelized environment? So I guess what I wanted to convey to you guys was I totally agree. It seems like there's still just a ton of people who need the down and dirty, how do I program, how do I use this interface, the real basic skills that we know people want to come home with, but they also seem to be interested in, and what should I be looking forward to, right? What other things could I be learning, whether it's Python or whether it's parallelization or whether it's understanding more about cloud architecture. Being able to do both seems to be really of interest to a lot of people. So, and then the only other thing I'll mention, because I'd asked the analytics guys here what they were thinking were the hot topics that might be of interest, and their points were more around the whole analytics lifecycle. So automating machine learning, interpretability of machine learning models, and deployment of models were the kind of areas that they were hearing over and over again that people seem to want more content around. So I'll shut up now, but I thought what you mentioned, Jen, was all just right on.
All right.
I guess, can I ask something? Is that?
Please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so something else we've been talking about at WUS recently is there seems to be a lot more and better access to content and resources and help and stuff like that via the internet or whatever it may be. And this is great, but it also, we thought, might mean that the value added by conferences and meetings like these has changed, right, or has potentially changed. And I imagine there's a lot of overlap between what's identified as a hot topic and maybe what has the maybe least amount of resources out there at the moment relative to other things. Not that there isn't anything out there, but relative to other things, maybe because it's so new or something like that. But does anybody else, I guess, have other thoughts, or do you guys have thoughts on, how, conferences and these types of venues for content can supplement, what's been made more accessible online and other things like that?
I don't.
Or is there
even
disagreement or agreement with that?
Can
I
y'all hear
don't
me?
think so. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me? This is Clarence from South Central. I think our forums really, a lot of stuff that's out there, a lot of people are unaware of what's going on. I think some of our stuff would be able to draw attention to the stuff that's already out there, let people know. So that could add value to it. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think we should supplement each other's work and not try to, rebuild the wheel, so to speak, as far as the content. The content is available. We just need to make it available to our users.
And I was going to comment, I actively asked this all through Global Forum last week because I've also been worried about this because we're seeing, just as an example, a huge decline in in-person training. Everyone's just Googling everything, right? And so I specifically was asking younger people at the conference when I would sit down with them and was really pleasantly surprised to hear them say, no, we actually prefer the in-person because when you do stuff at your desk, you don't ever actually get to do anything, right? You don't. And so the whole going away. And so to go back, Hunter, to what I think you're asking, my angle is people still want to have the in-person, but I think being able to connect it back to say, okay, you get the beginnings of something here, here's where you go to get more, which is kind of the opposite of I'm going to find it first, then go to a conference to learn more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not sure that it's, that it's actually yet changed anything we're going to do. It's just a thought that's come to us, and it seems important to think about because we won't, we all want to stay relevant and useful and maintained.
Right.
So.
Right. I wouldn't give up.
Certainly. Yeah. Thank you.
And maybe that's why the hows are so well attended. Because people get a chance to do something that they're not going to have a chance to do at work. I don't know. This is theory.
All right. Any other questions or comments on this topic? Which, by the way, has been a great discussion. All right. I'm using the Godem technique where you count to 7 before you move on. So nice, healthy, long silence.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right. So next thing that we wanted to talk about today was about conference registration systems. We know a lot of us in the different user groups are using different conference registration systems. There's a lot of pros and cons with each kind. And we really wanted to take an opportunity to talk about them. So Clarence, looks like you're going to take the floor first, and then I know Craig also has stuff to talk about in this topic. So I'll let you guys take the floor.
Okay. All right. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you. Do you have something on your screen, though?
Yeah, it sounds like you've got some noise in the background of you, though.
Oh, okay. I'm at my VFW post. We have a couple of issues. We had power fades and stuff like that here in Texas. So basically, I sent these slides out and a lot of information out along with, to everybody that's on the appointment, but I'll run through these right quick. And you ripped off SAS Global Forum's power slides. Sue.
Hold on, Clarence.
Yeah.
I actually see all I'm seeing is black. Is there a button hiding somewhere to share your screen?
Okay. Am I shared? I thought I was shared. Let's see.
I wonder if there's something hiding in the background.
Okay, can you see it now?
Not yet. It's still just a black screen. Yeah, I can see your cursor.
Oh, you can see my cursor.
I think I get cursor hiding out there, yeah. For some reason, I can't see anything else.
Okay, so let's say share screen. Share the screen. Okay, you got that? Okay. How's that?
It did something for a second, Clarence, and then it went back to the main screen.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Well, pretty much, I hope everybody got a copy of those slides. That was one reason I sent those out. And I just walked through them. Y'all can't see this.
No.
Basically,
sure. Which of the
how's that?
Sent where you go first?
I'm sorry.
There we go. It's up.
Okay.
All right.
So basically, everybody, there's a bunch of registration systems out there from open source, build your own and host it your own self. Or you can go to, the quick route and get a fully hosted or partially hosted system. And let's see, if you want to look at some of the other ones, the free open source systems, I put this link out there for Capterra. They have a whole list of open source, about 20-something different registration systems you can build from scratch, but you have to host it on your own system. Basically, what we always using it for, basically, manage the event, manage attendance. We always need to look at costs and processing payments online and check purchases and purchase orders. I don't know if y'all are using orders, but we're still using purchase order process with the city. With the state of Texas stuff. So for the purpose of this conversation, I just looked at want to highlight three different registration systems that a lot of us are used or have used in the past or consider using. CVET, basically, you have to have a contract, and contract is like $2,900 a year, and you have to pay like $170 per additional user, and there's a cost per attendee, something like 4%, and a cost per online transaction. They can handle all your transactions for you, but what we wind up doing is getting a merchant account. Reg Online, we use that prior to using CVET. The contract is now required. Reg Online has been acquired by CVET, and there is pretty much the same cost structure. Reg Fox is something I've been looking at. There's no contract. There's no cost for users, so you can have multiple people look at the registration system. They do charge 99 cents per attendee, so they work out depending on how many attendees you have. And there is a cost per online transaction, but it's about the same as the other CVET and Reg Online. Basically, all of the registration systems allow you to export data, to do your management, like print lists, do your badges, stuff like that. And all of them support event apps. So, but Reg Online and CVET requires a separate contract for Crowd Compass. If you notice, Crowd Compass is what we use at SAS Global Forum, and I think that they use CVET at SAS Global Forum. That's kind of like the Cadillac of registration systems. Reg Fox is, let's say, it is more of the SUV, smaller SUV. Basically, it offers an app, and it's at the same price it is for the system. So, like 99 cents per attendee or 99 cents per download. Like I said, we use Reg Online, and now we have a contract with CVET that runs through the end of the year. We're not going to renew that. Really, they're not happy with CVET. It's pretty pricey for what we're trying to do. And to keep our costs down for our attendees, keep from passing that $2,900 through to the attendees, rather go with a cheaper process. And Midwest is now using Reg Fox, so we're looking at Reg Fox at the end of this contract year. And that's pretty much it. Any questions for me? And thank you, SAS Global, for nice PowerPoint templates. I love it.
So I know Craig had some things to say on this topic as well, so I'm going to pass the floor to him next.
Okay. Do I need to do anything special to release the screen?
Nope, I got it.
Okay.
Let me pass it now to Craig here. There we go. Great. Oh, and Craig, for some reason with you, I'm seeing a black screen as well. There we go. Let's do that.
I think it takes a couple minutes.
Oh, there we go. There it is, yeah. There it is.
All right. Everybody hear me and see the screen, I assume?
Yeah. You're looking so great.
So basically, with MWSUG, they decided late last year, based on rumblings we heard from Reg Online and cost and stuff like that, that we should look for a new registration software. So David and I, early this year, we looked at a bunch, and here's some of them that we looked at. Some pros and cons with each one. Some are too basic, and just wouldn't meet our needs or whatever. We did give a fair try to all of these. They'd have demos or something, so we tried them. But basically, we decided on Reg Fox, and we decided on it for the following reasons. One, there was no contract. It's quite simple to use. They've helped over 30,000 organizations. They've been in business since 2008. They've processed $1.8 billion through their system. And the registration page that you create looks somewhat like Reg Online. We had used Reg Online with MWSUG probably back to probably 2008, something like that. And, it started out as a good thing, but Reg Online just keeps getting bought out by other companies, and then it changes the software, and basically the cost kept going up. Another nice thing about RegFox, you can decide when you want money to be deposited into your account, whereas before with Reg Online, they would just pick one day out of the month and then, you'd get it. But if your conference is coming up, when you'd like that money sooner or something, you didn't have that capability with Reg Online. But RegFox, you get to pick when that is, and you can modify that as well. We found that the staff is extremely friendly and easy to work with. We've talked to salespeople, and we've contacted their tech support. They're quite responsive, actually, and always friendly and always making sure that we're satisfied with their response. They are quite cost effective, only 99 cents per registrant, and then doesn't matter what credit card a person uses, it's just a flat 2.99%. Where with Reg Online, it kind of varied a little bit depending on what card was used. Another nice feature is if you need to correct a registration or something, Reg Online always charged you for any correction that you did to the registration, where now with RegFox you don't pay for that. It's, once you pay for the initial charge, you can correct, which is kind of nice and saves you some money. You basically create an account with an email address, and then you can play around with their software for free. I mean, you get the whole thing is there. The only thing is you can't publish. Once you publish, then you need to create, I call it a merchant account, but it's essentially, just linking it to your bank account. And we also found when we first published something that you need a credit card as well. And the reason being there is, if you had people registering and wanted to pay with a check, but you still did the registration, then they wouldn't get that 99-cent fee. So they charge that once a month to your credit card if that happens. So it's kind of a little quirk there, but, it's nothing, you can't work through as long as you had a credit card.
Hey, Craig?
Yeah.
This is your chance. I didn't have to give a credit card.
Really?
Yeah.
We did. I mean, basically, we went online with our sponsorship page, and we needed to have some credit card there just in case for things they needed to charge us. I mean, Reg Online, they would always take it out of your funds before they would issue your payment, where RegFox, they'll still only do it once a month, but then they wanted, they'll still give you your full amount, but then they charge you for things that wouldn't happen. So yeah, I don't know. That's weird, Rich Ann, that you mentioned that, but because we had everything set up with our bank account, and it wouldn't let us go on another screen until I contacted Ken to get our credit card, and then everything was fine.
I don't know why. Maybe because I was actually working with Eric, one of the head people, directly.
I don't know. I'm not, because I think we even questioned them on it. They says, yeah, that because we were wondering why they needed a credit card and they're not taking it from our funds that are in there, and they says, for under certain situations they need this credit card. So
Rich Ann,
we had to set it up.
I'm sorry. Can I ask a question? Rich Ann, are you guys using checks? Are y'all accepting checks and purchase orders?
No.
Okay. Craig, are you guys accepting checks and purchase orders?
We just accept checks. We do not accept
Okay, that's the reason why they ask for your credit card. Only because.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's what I got from them. If you didn't accept purchase orders or checks, you would need your credit card.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, here's just because we were coming from Reg Online and moving to RegFox, Basically, last year, Reg Online, it cost us $3.80 per registrant, where now with RegFox, it's only 99 cents. Approximately 5% for credit card fees, but again, sometimes it was 5.5% depending on what card and stuff like that, because it varies. Where with RegFox, it's only the 2.99%, and that's for all cards. I seem to remember Ken once mentioning there was some kind of yearly fee, or we'd have to agree to so much use of Reg Online in our last contract. Whereas RegFox, again, there's no fee. You know, you just create an account and you could drop it any time. So we're trying it this year just because we basically have nothing to lose. We're not signing up for anything. I don't know if anybody's interested. I can just quickly log into our account and let's see here.
While you're doing that, Greg, I just wanted to add something else. So for the local user group that I'm in charge of here in Cincinnati, we're actually using RegFox as well. And we have one paid event, and then we have one event that's free to our attendees. And they told me that as long as we have one paid event per year, that we could actually still use RegFox and have no fees assessed for the free event.
Oh, wow, that's a nice feature.
Yeah, so as long as we have the one event that our attendees pay and they get their fees or get their 99 cents and their 2.99% fee on that event, then our free event that we have later on in the year, we don't have to pay anything for it.
And I'll also note, WUS has been using Reg Online since about 2007, and we actually just got notified by Reg Online that they will be discontinuing that tool entirely. As part of the them being purchased by Cvent, the Reg Online tools actually will be gone at the end of this calendar year. So it's not even an option anymore.
That's one way to get rid of the competition. Wow.
So basically, I mean, this is the RegFox screen. They do have this 1-minute video you can watch, which is pretty interesting, but you also can sign up for a demo. Basically, they offer this twice a week, usually every week, and it's taught, by Eric or his other partner who essentially started this. I recommend both. They're quite good. But I just wanted to give you a sense of, kind of how simple this looks. Basically, here's our sponsorship page. We got one sponsor already. But if I click on this, it gives you all kinds of analytical data, which I think once you got into a registration system where you're watching registrations come in could be, quite interesting. Go back to the here it would even show on a map, where everything's coming from. It's just a lot of built-in stuff. But, here we kind of started playing with we tried to duplicate last year's registration page, just to kind of proof concept. But it's kind of like Reg Online where we still have the different types of registration and, we could have meals here and pre-conference training and, the one thing, though, that David and I found out, which is something that is going to cause us a little bit of pain, is with Reg Online, you could put coupon codes or discount codes in different areas of the conference, of the registration site. But RegFox only allows one, and they call it a coupon code. So we're probably, to get around that, we'll have to create more coupon codes, for these different situations. Like, for example, for our pre-conference training, if you take like 2 full days of training courses, we'd give a discount, which would have been a secondary discount code, where now we'll probably have one discount code that will, discount your conference plus discount your training classes. So that'll be a little bit different for us, but, primarily it's just pretty simple,
Hey, Craig?
moving around. Yeah.
For those discounts, can't you use the actions?
Yeah, that is possible, but again, you only have the one initial code. So for example, if you're a conference committee member and you wanted to take a training, you were taking 2 days of training courses, you would have to discount, give them a free registration, plus then give them $50 off the training because they signed up for 2 things. So we're probably going to create one coupon that'll take both of those away at once, as opposed to doing it with 2 codes in the past.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that I used a coupon code for certain things, but then I had actions that, based on certain triggers within the registration, would then change the pricing.
Yeah, I mean, the actions thing is, does a lot. Like here's some of the action. If speaker is selected, then request the coupon code. If you're bringing a guest, then they need to check for meals only and stuff. I mean, you can build actions like crazy as well. And, until we physically get in and really set up our site for this year, I guess I don't have all the answers yet. You're probably further along, Rich Ann, because I think your site is live already for your lug coming up.
Yeah, ours is coming up in the 20th, so we've been live for a while.
Yeah, so you're probably definitely further ahead, but I don't know, unless somebody else wants to see anything else, that's kind of all that I have to share. Any other questions?
So let me ask you, how does the early registration, is that a coupon code, or?
No, you can physically set up dates. So
Okay.
if your early registration is from now until the end of June, you would put in that parameter. And then if your regular is from the 1st of July to the end of August, and the system will take care of that and charge the different rates.
Okay. And now for people that they would check or purchase order, how does the system process? I mean, does it send reminders, or can you set it up to send reminders to them to process the payment? And also, because I know.
You could,
go ahead.
I'm pretty sure, you can set up different reminders. I mean, there's a bunch of different emails that you can send within here as well. So I'm pretty sure that there'd be a way that you could do that. I'm just not familiar with that because I've never been registrar where we've accepted purchase orders, so I can't relate really.
I tell you what, I wish I could do a past due amount. I just got the last check from the state of Texas Friday after Global Forum, and our conference was in November, so kind of.
Oh, gee.
I wish I could hey, you owe us more money, but they gave me 38 cents for interest, so I don't know what that's supposed to do. So.
Yes, not a lot, but something.
That's just funny.
Yeah, but I like Red Fox. This is what I was looking at when I saw it online, the demo and stuff. And Rich Ann, I'd like to see your site. I don't know if I can register, but I'd like to see what you got out there. So, what is it? Cincinnati User Group?
Helps if I take myself off mute. Cinsug.org.
Huh?
If you go to cinsug.org, I mean, Craig, if you're there.
Cinsug. Okay.
Well, Craig, if you want to go to cinsug.org while everybody's here. CIN, Cincinnati.
Okay.
.org. And then click on conference page.
And
to register, click here.
Okay.
And so we have a countdown clock on our page, so it tells people that the early bird is ending in 2 days, 9 hours, and 40 minutes. And then we have the different types of registration. We have pictures of our featured presentations. And then when you go to the next page, you start seeing all the training options.
Okay.
You have to actually fill in information. You can, put some dummy information in there if you want.
You got Vince and Chevelle and, oh my goodness gracious.
Boy, I tell you, y'all gonna have fun.
Yeah.
I was like, can we them?
So this is on your actual page, so you don't have to shell out to go to like in CVent. What you have to do, you put a link to CVent to shell out to the page, to CVent system to do the registration. So you're passing stuff from your page. So, hey, you got Kirk too? Wow, boy, y'all. Okay. So y'all passing stuff from your page over to the Red Fox, huh?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Well, like I said, we're going to Red Fox next year because CVent is, yeah. You saw us chart on the cows, and that's basically what we were saying. And, for what we're trying to do, we're not really trying to be in the registration business. We're trying to be in the SAS global, SAS user group business. And it seemed like at a point we were working for CVent because they were taking so much of our money. So I like this. This is cool.
And the money immediately came in. I set it up to come at the first of the month, and we got our check. It said on the first of the month it was being cut. We got the check on the third of the month. It actually came into our bank account.
Yeah. Well, since we had the issue with CVent the last few years, where we were using their merchant, I went on ahead and got Chase to set us up a merchant. So we're getting it daily, same day of the transaction. Once it clears there, that afternoon. So Red Fox will let you connect to your own merchant account. I did make sure of that, so we don't have to change anything on that side. Money should be coming in daily the way they like to process. So, and I like this countdown clock. Thank you. Okay. So I'm good. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rich Ann.
All right. Any other questions or comments regarding registration systems? All right, guys. Thank you so much for that excellent tutorial. All right. Let's share my screen again. Come here. Wake up. There we go. Okay. So next thing we wanted to talk about is bring your own device hands-on workshops. This is something that a couple of the regionals have played around with. Some of the others are kind of exploring possible ideas for the future. And we actually had a call about a month ago with some of the hands-on workshop coordinators from the different regionals to kind of talk about how things had worked, lessons learned, things of that nature. So the video for that, which was, again, very similar to this kind of format, it was another Join Me call. The video for that is on YouTube. It's unlisted, but there's the direct link. I'll make sure to send it to everybody on this call as well so you can have that and view it. It's about an hour long, a little less. But I just wanted to talk about a couple of the highlights that came out of that call. So at the time that we had the call, there were about 2 different models that had been played around with. Midwest SUG had played around with a bring your own device and connect to an Amazon Web Services environment. So basically, the attendees would come in, they would connect with Wi-Fi, get into an environment that has SAS on it, and that way all of the attendees were working within the same environment. The alternate model, which was what SAS played around with, is a bring your own device and then and then either bring in your own environment, whatever version of SAS you happen to have on your computer, or before coming in, download SAS University Edition so that you could play around with it. That particular option did not require Wi-Fi because all that downloading and having the environment set up all happened before coming into the room. But that also meant that everybody was working in their own environment and everything that went with that. We've got a phone that needs to go out. Couple things that came up just as like general recommendations, because obviously there are pros and cons with each of these models, and they're still kind of being played around with a little bit. If you want to hear the details of kind of how they worked and some of that, I again recommend checking out the YouTube video. But just some things that kind of came out of the conversation. Obviously, bring your own device is a nice cost-saving measure. I know, for example, with WUSP, we probably pay about $150 per computer for the HAL room. So it can be pretty expensive and can definitely add up pretty quick. One of the other benefits to bring your own device is that not only are you saving money, but also people walk away with tools that they can use on their own computer ready to go. So whatever sample code or whatever they wrote during the HAL, it's already on their own computer, so they can play around with it right away. Some other tips that came up, definitely if you're going to start doing bring your own device HALs, promote early, promote often. It's a new thing for a lot of attendees to realize that they need to bring their own computer and that their computer does need to be set up with a SAS environment in some way or another, or at least be ready to use whatever environment you set up for them. So you're going to want to promote early, promote often so that attendees come prepared. Other things that we talked about, clear communication is obviously going to be key. Making sure that attendees know what to expect, know what they need to have with them. If you're going to have them, for example, download SAS University Edition, then they need to know how to do that. And so providing instructions, whatever the case may be. We even talked about the possibility of having stations set up at the conference that could help download and install SAS University Edition on a computer. There had been some conversation about whether or not that was something that we could actually do, but actually it turned out after the call we realized that, yes, that is something that we can do, that SAS does allow, and in fact, perhaps might even be willing to send some people to help support that. Other things that we talked about, the instructors, your HAL instructors, you're going to want to, at least for the first year that you do this, probably pick instructors who are well-versed in different environments or are seasoned enough HAL instructors that could probably weather some of the bumps that you may experience along the way. Give them plenty of time to test, play around in whatever environment you're planning on using. Also, there were recommendations to use the SAS help data set. That way, every environment and every computer has the same access to the same data sets. You don't have to download files special for that particular HAL. But even if you do use your own files, if you need to for whatever reason, make sure that you have redundant methods for people to be able to access those files. So one example was attendees were originally asked to the instructor brought in a thumb drive so that people could access the files that way right before the HAL started. However, some computers, because they were corporate computers or whatever, they weren't allowed to actually plug in the thumb drive. They were prohibited from doing so. So in that case, the instructor had an alternate method where they could actually download files from the internet, from a web source. So make sure that you have multiple redundant methods for accessing data files or any other materials that the attendees are going to need to have access to. And then finally, if you're going to be working in an environment or working in a setup where there are multiple environments, some people are using EG, some people are using X, Y, and Z, whatever, University Edition, whatever the case may be, make sure that your instructors are creating programs that are dynamic, that work well in all of those different environments. And in fact, there are actually tools out there that have already been created to help with some of that dynamic programming, where the program can actually detect what environment it's in and adjust accordingly. So so that's kind of it for the high-level overview. Did anybody have any questions or additional comments or things that I missed from that call that are important to highlight?
South Central, we use the preloaded, if they didn't have SAS already, the preload University Edition. And we stuck to using the help files on the, SAS help files. And that seemed to work out pretty good. And like I say, the big thing was people were able to take that information back with them without having to bring in our laptops. So we're going to do it again this year. We're going to probably do, we're going to add a Git session in there because I think, that's going to be a big deal. Matter of fact, there's a Git webcast going on right now. But that one is going to possibly pose a few challenges because you have to do the web interface. It works best when you don't have to get online, or you sticking with with SAS help data and not corporate or proprietary data, and make sure that the instructors stick with that formula, where they don't have to shell out or have people shelling out, everybody going out on the internet hitting the same file at the same time. So that works really well if you can keep it to those constraints for the instructors. And we posted a link to the instructions on how to set up a University Edition on our website and on the registration when we had our how description. So it's always good to make sure that they can go out and, like I say, promote early, promote often. Once we decided we were going to do it, we basically sent out emails and included it as part of our email blast and on the website so people can be prepared and be ready. And we had a lot of folks that were there, prepared and ready to go.
All right. Anything else? Okay. So next, I'm going to pass the virtual floor over to Patsy and to talk a little bit about the 2019 support guide. Patsy, it's all yours.
Okay.
Once
Well, basically, we've already had a meeting in January about the support guide, what we changed and updated, and so I just wanted to know if any of you all still have questions. Are y'all there?
Yeah,
I'm Patsy.
I didn't have any questions, Patsy.
Nobody's got a question. Y'all just.
Well, we can hit you up.
Come on.
Oh, go ahead.
I have some questions.
Yeah, I got one. I was going to email you about this anyway, I guess. For the Global Forum reimbursement, the guide outlines it, but is there a form? Do we just send receipts, or what? How does that work?
I'll send you a form. Who all needs one?
There's a form in the support guide, right?
No, that's not for these. That's for an invoice for scholarship reimbursement and stuff like that. That's for your final invoice.
Okay.
Patsy, I need it. This is Gina.
Yeah, Gina.
Gina, I think I sent it to you yesterday because you had sent me a copy of the invoice. Double check your email. I don't
think I sent you an invoice, but I'll look for it.
Somebody did. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Who else needed one?
Hunter was the original.
Hunter. Anybody else? Okay. What the form that I'll send you is basically it's an ACH form because we no longer send checks, so you're going to have to fill out and put your banking account information on it, and then I'll need copies of your original receipts along with that form filled out. The form says to send it to accounts payable. You can do that, and then I won't see your account information. That's fine. But I have to have the invoices sent to me because I have to submit the request for you to get reimbursed. Okay, any other questions? Is there anything in the support guide you want to question?
Hey, Patsy. Joni and I, because she was quite busy before Global, are reviewing a bunch of things probably in the next 2 days, and so we might have a few questions then. But
okay, well, you can email me, or I will be out of the office Monday and Tuesday for I'll be attending the Iowa local group meeting on Monday, which they have to date 205 registered.
Wow.
And the Nebraska meeting on the next day, what did she tell me? She's got a little over 100 so far registered at it.
So, Patsy, I know that Hunter and Cynthia and I, and we'll probably bring Scott on as well, need to have a follow-up call from the conversation. I was wondering, though, generally, one thing that might be of interest to the group as a whole is if there's been any additional thought yet, and maybe not because that's what just happened, but if there's any additional thought about the kind of customer appreciation event that you guys would like to host at the regionals.
Well, we have kind of thought about it some more, and we are going to discuss it in further detail. But what we're planning is to do some type of reception, maybe smaller, we're not sure. But we want to have a game or something of some type, maybe the Sphero ball, something similar to that, or something else in the exhibit room. And then we also may have basically something like Birds of a Feather, where we have round tables with the SAS presenters where people can literally go and sit down and talk with them. It can be, just a round table with different people, everybody sharing information. It won't be that the SAS presenter is asked to present at that round table. It's basically for somebody to sit there and just have questions with them. Everybody discuss, say, if it's Amy Peters, everybody discuss visual analytics or something with her, questions about it. That's kind of what we're thinking, because it seems like people really do want to talk with the SAS people, and sometimes it's hard to catch them if they're presenting, and then if they're in the exhibit room at the booth, but then the attendees are attending another paper. So that's what we're thinking.
So in that instance, would SAS be kind of planning and managing that entire event, including all of the games and whatever other activities as well?
Well, I mean, if you want to bring in another game or something, I'm sure we would, take that into play, and if we got somewhere to add it or got the time, we could definitely talk about it. There's no reason that we would say no right off the bat to that.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Is what I just shared, anybody have any concerns with us changing it up and doing something a little different?
For us, our continued concern has been a lot of what we had mentioned before about just the reduction in the financial support that happened last year,
right,
in regard to that event. So that just kind of continues to be our main concern. I think we also want to make sure, obviously, that we work really closely with you guys in planning that event, making sure that we don't have any duplication and overlap.
Okay.
Just as a really silly example, I know last year at our conference we had a reception where we ordered the cheese platter. You guys had a reception where you ordered the cheese platter, and it became the 2018 cheese conference. So just make sure we don't have duplication of that sort would be great.
I think I had to send my order to be included with your orders, so I don't know where we goofed up there, but we can definitely do that.
So,
yeah,
Patsy, the way we've been doing it in the past, the South Central, we're pretty much, we're okay with that. So that's basically how we're going to do it in the future, right? But this year we're going to be at LSU. I'm not exactly sure how the catering and BFE is working. So that'll be Johnny to kind of let us know, on the catering and stuff. But the way we had, South Central really didn't have a problem with the way you were doing it because you ordered it and then we included it in our,
Yeah, you guys,
So-
we always let you all the rugs if you want to include it on your event orders. That way you get
Right.
credit for them. Yes.
Right. So we're okay, right? That's what I'm trying to see.
Yeah,
South Central,
that's-
we don't need to deviate too much from what we're doing. We're okay. We're good.
You're good. You're good.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
I do want to mention. I don't know if Kathy's been able to call in yet, but my new director, Kathy Kane, she is looking to really make some changes for 2020.
Okay.
So we maybe, I think she talked to some of the people at SAS Global Forum, some of the regional folks, and she may want to try out some things at the regionals for Global Forum 2021. I mean, she's looking to really make some changes, and hopefully we can get you guys more attendees and more content and just make it a lot better.
We're good with that.
I do want to mention I just sent out the papers. I have the statutorials to send to you. I was waiting to see if I could send a reminder to the person that's supposed to send me the education seminars, and I was going to try to send those together. But I want to mention, since you have the papers looking at them, I'm sure you will, but just a reminder to go back and look at what Jen said and what Amy said about what was hot and what people are looking for. And then if you can't fill those slots with, your attendees that have submitted papers, or you'd rather have a SAS person, please look through those lists. And if you don't find something that you think will work in one of these areas, let us know, and I can definitely work with Amy and see if we can get somebody to cover it, because we want to. These are the hot topics, and these are the areas that SAS folks are wanting to hear about. So we'll definitely help you with making sure you get those presentations if you can't get them from your call for papers from attendees, or if you don't see them listed under SAS.
All right. Anything else for Patsy? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Patsy. And obviously, we'll continue to be in touch. We work toward our conference this year.
Anytime.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to take an opportunity now to just kind of open up the floor. We've spent a lot of time, presenting some ideas and concepts, and really I want to kind of hear from you guys now how things are going with the conference, maybe any struggles you guys have that you want to bring to the floor for maybe some input, or even something cool that you're trying out this year that you'd like to kind of talk about. So the floor is your guys'. It's whoever wants to go first. Thank you. And I know you guys are doing some cool stuff, so if nobody volunteers, I'm going to start picking on people.
Where's that countdown clock?
I had a question for people. I'm not sure if anybody's done this or has experience in recording content at some of these meetings and making it available. I'd like to know if anybody's doing that or has done it and what their experiences are.
Hi, this is Jennifer. I can tell you it's been done at SAS Global Forum. It was a huge endeavor, and it was rather expensive.
I had a feeling. I wasn't sure if
part
had
of the
alternate
issue is
options. I really don't know what the options are. I know that it would be really cool if we could share content, because people are always looking to get access to information online, but
the price definitely has prevented us from taking that as a serious option.
And part of the issue is having that software that will allow you to record what's being shown on the screen, as well as recording the audio. And maybe it will get better, but that's kind of been the issue as to why it's so expensive.
South Central, Kirk and I were talking about streaming a certain seminar, just to stream it, but not to record it. But there's a bandwidth cost in streaming it and lag and stuff like that. So we tested it out. It didn't really work out well in hotel situations, so we didn't try it. Like I say, the cost of doing a video production is pretty up there, unless you just copy it with somebody's iPhone and somebody posted it out there talking about file size. So I don't know if that's going to be worth it. Maybe a transcript or I don't know how you can make that work at reasonable cost.
At an academic, and this is just coming from an academic institution, I have that capability because we record our lectures all the time, and whatever is shown on the screen is, shown, whatever. But, I'm coming from an academic institution where the institution has invested in that, and I have no idea what the cost is. Just none. I don't pay for it.
Maybe partnering with, I know where we're going to be having our location as a college, so the thought was like, all right, maybe there might be film students that could do it at a discount. But that was probably my only far-reaching brainstorm.
Well, and the software has to be on everybody's computer, etc. So.
The feedback. It's what I suspected, but.
Well, I wanted to say, Clarence, at LSU, we did have that capability, but that would be just for 1 year.
And see, that's the issue. We probably have a real nice one for the next year, but then the next year after that, we're kind of not going to be able to do it.
Right.
But it'd be nice to find out how much it would cost, John, just to share with everybody so they can kind of like, oh, okay, we can afford it or we're not, I do know in certain locations you got to have a technician, to do it. Like if you're doing it at a hotel or something like that, to work their equipment, you have to have their staff to do it. So you got that issue.
Well, there are some things you consider that are a little more on a lower key side. So, for example, with last year's team, there was a videographer that was hired just to record the keynote speech. So we did that. I don't know the details, unfortunately, I cost and kind of what the setup was. Another thing that I have seen, and this is at a much smaller event, kind of more of a symposium kind of thing, but they actually did some Facebook live streaming of some of the presentations. Now, on the flip side, obviously, that's not going to be as professional and clean as like some of the things that we're talking about, but that would be a good way to kind of bring in some social media exposure. Maybe one or have a couple streaming events just happen to pop up on the Facebook page. And the thing with those Facebook Live events is that not only are they live streamed, but you can also just kind of add them to your page, so they become part of the permanent record, right? Which also, maybe something that we want to do a little bit more with some of our social media across the board, like maybe in the couple days before the conference, have just some really quick little Facebook Live videos of like, hey, it's the conference team, we're getting together and we're super excited about this and yada, yada, yada. Can't wait to see you in a couple days. Or maybe having conference team members post videos like that up on the social media page in the weeks leading up to the conference. It's a great way to kind of make your social media a little bit more vital and lively. So.
So as far as Facebook Live, I've never used it, but that was one option that came to mind. Would you recommend, I know at other conferences I've presented at, we needed waivers signed from the presenters saying that they agree to be recorded and it to be shared. So that would probably be something that we'd have to do even if it was streamed on Facebook Live.
And that was something we had to do at Global Forum, is we had to get acknowledgement that was occurring. And there are some companies that they say absolutely not. It's proprietary information, and they did not. I mean, they couldn't even submit their presentations, the actual PowerPoint, etc., and had to bring it on a stick and run it from a stick. So you just need to be aware that those types of things occur too.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Yeah, and it's probably a good idea, just in good faith anyway, to do, even if it's not necessarily legally necessary. I wonder if maybe is that something that we could add as part of the copyright grant form as just another disclosure statement. Maybe it could be something that have the opportunity to opt out of, but then you can do it all in one fell swoop.
Makes sense to put it on the copyright as a checkbox. It's like, hey, can we, if in the event we video, may we do so? In the event we publish a paper, may we do so? It's a separate question. Let's check that off.
Right. I also seem to remember, I think this was probably like in 2014 when we started introducing panel discussions. I think that the academic chair at the time, Ethan Miller, wanted to do recordings of the panel discussions because obviously there's no paper, right? So we wanted to have something as some sort of static content. And that was another area where, people would not agree to being recorded, partly because, it's a more of an open, unguarded, unscripted conversation, right? And so people feel a little less comfortable with that. So that may not fly either. Although, again, in terms of lively discussions, that would definitely be perfect for social media. So.
All right. Well, thank you.
So, Hunter, I don't know if you're still on the call, but I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk a little bit about some of the stuff you were doing with SoftConf this year to kind of really leverage that that you've had in the past.
Sure. So I guess because I wasn't fully involved across the entire organization, I don't know all of the details about how we used to handle all of our applications, but I do know that I guess in the past we used SoftConf for abstract submissions. Basically, it was our paper and abstract submission, or presentation submission system for the talks and things like that. And for our classes, I think people were basically asked to kind of put together a Word document or whatever application where they responded to some questions that we had put together in a form or in a document that we posted or something like that, and those were emailed in. And then I think it might have been the case that we did our scholarship applications through a different survey mechanism or something like that. But this year, I guess I was kind of able to figure out how to just do it all through SoftConf. So SoftConf allows for multiple submission forms. And so I created a separate submission form for abstracts, for classes, for student scholarships, for faculty scholarships, and for new SAS professional scholarships. And I'll admit that I probably haven't streamlined it as much as it can be, but so far it feels like it's a lot better because it's just all more centralized and organized and things like that. And it's all still very easily kind of parsable. I mean, you can add kind of entry items or fields that distinguish the forms themselves. So that's not really a problem because SoftConf is kind of nice in the sense that it's very easy to generate spreadsheets of all of your submissions and things like that. And so kind of separating when I download a spreadsheet of all the submissions, it's everything, so across all types. But because I have a field in there that separates, that specifies this is for a student scholarship or this is for an abstract or something like that, it's very easy to separate them all and distribute them to the other conference team members that need to see it. So I think that's gone very well. Like I said, I think there might be some further streamlining to do in the future. But right now, to kind of further that, I'm working on different review forms for the different things as well. So the review of abstracts happens through SoftConf, or at least historically it has, I think, or at least that's what I've been a part of. But some of our conference team has been interested in putting review forms for the scholarship applications and things like that through SoftConf as well, if we can. And I haven't created the forms yet, but I have established that it can be done. There can be different review forms for different submission types, and so I'll be pursuing that, which I think will just add again to the overall organization and kind of centralization of kind of everything submitted to the conference. So yeah, that's been good.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, things that are going on with their conferences that are particularly cool? Time to show off how awesome you are.
Good. Let me ask you something. We're scheduled to have our steering committee meeting tomorrow. Are we going to need to have that?
Oh, I don't know. We can chat about that afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you guys got a lot of use out of this. We had some really great discussions. Thank you again to all of our presenters for putting together some really interesting information that will help us all put together fantastic conferences this year. So again, just a reminder, I'm going to send a link to this video after it all renders and I get it posted and things like that. So please feel free to share it far and wide to conference teams. And thank you again. All right, everybody have a great day. Happy conference planning.
Happy Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.
Happy Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.